Hello everyone and welcome to the first installment of Town Meeting Day 2023 election coverage by Town Meeting TV. Tonight's presentation is part of a series of forums we're bringing you in advance of Town Meeting Day on March 7th. Town Meeting TV hosts forums with all of our candidates and covers all items on the ballot so that you can learn about what is on your ballot before you head to the polls and make informed decisions. Now tonight, I'm joined by South Burlington City Manager Jesse Baker, Community Development Director Alana Blanchard, as well as Public Works Director Tom DePietro. And they will be giving a presentation on South Burlington's budget and ballot items. So, if you're tuning in live tonight, we welcome your questions at 802-862-3966. Feel free to call in and we'll prioritize those questions for you. And you can watch Town Meeting TV on Comcast Channel 1087, Burlington Telecom 17 and 217, as well as on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/townmeetingtv. With that being said, we can go ahead and get started. And Jesse, I'll let you take it away.
Great. Thank you so much for having us tonight. This is such a huge opportunity for us to talk with your viewers and talk with our residents about what they'll see on Town Meeting Day this year. We do have a lot on the South Burlington Town Meeting Day ballot this year, so we're going to try to fly through a bunch of content, but also really encourage any questions that our community members may want to pose or you would like to pose. So tonight I have the privilege of talking about the FY24 municipal budget, but really that budget is developed in partnership with the leadership team, with my amazing colleagues, and of course with the City Council. Ultimately, this is the budget they have approved to send to the voters. So I'm going to talk through the city budget, and then we're going to learn a little about the Bartlett Bay wastewater treatment improvement bond vote, and then the tax increment financing bond vote. We do have a ton of information on our website. That's at our southburlingtonvt.gov/TMD Town Meeting Day 2023 website. So if folks are watching this later and really want to dive into all the line item budgets, they can explore at that site and find all the information. So to dive right into our FY24 budget, this is the budget that the voters will vote on Town Meeting Day. It's specifically tonight I'm going to be talking about the general fund budget, which is the dollars that support municipal operations, public safety, police, fire, EMT services, public works, administration, community development, recreation, libraries. We have tried to, between the leadership team and council, achieve several really important goals through this budget. One, as we all know from living in households and living in families right now, we as society are facing really significant inflation rates, cost of living increases. That obviously is reflected in our expenses as well. We're trying to be sensitive to that by presenting a 2-year budget to the council and to the voters. Having said that, we are a growing community and we do have some significant operational needs. So this budget achieves adding a park maintenance person. We heard through COVID that folks spend a lot of time in our parks and open spaces, and we really need to make sure those are maintained to the standard that our community is expecting. We also know that we need to be incrementally investing in our capital improvement plan to really make sure that we're investing in our infrastructure, we can maintain our infrastructure well, and we continue that legacy over time. We are also investing in a GIS data analyst position to make sure that we are making data-driven decisions. We're growing into quite a city, and we have a lot of data available. We want to be able to use that data to make decisions. With this budget, we're also investing pretty heavily in public safety. So we're restoring funding for a number of public safety positions that during the lean COVID years, we had to reduce to really make that budget work for the taxpayers during those lean years. So with this budget, we are restoring funding for a police officer and a deputy chief position within our police department. We are also restoring funding for one firefighter EMT, as well as big news is starting January 1st, 2024, standing up a second ambulance in the city of South Burlington. Right now, we only run one ambulance at a time, and about 23% of the time people call 911 in South Burlington, another entity is responding to that call because we don't have the folks to do it. So with all of that, here are the big exciting numbers. Lots of numbers on this screen, so I'll highlight the important ones. To invest in those things as a city, we are increasing the tax rate by 5.75%, or about 2.5 pennies on the tax rate. What that means is about a $78 increase for the average condo owner and about a $117 increase for the average homeowner. So with that increase, we are achieving those goals for the community that I previously mentioned and really investing in that core municipal government. I do want to call out our community did a huge amount of work in the last year to adopt its first ever climate action plan. The council has been very intentional about this priority. While there is not funding to implement that plan in this budget, we still do have $2 million of ARPA funding remaining, and there are conversations happening at the council level to invest all or some of that funding in implementing our climate action plan. And then finally, I do want to mention, and you'll hear much more about this from Tom, our utility rate increases. Each of our utilities that we operate, our stormwater utility, wastewater utility, and water utility, are also seeing rate increases this year. Those are primarily driven by the need to invest in our capital projects. Both our Bartlett Bay wastewater treatment bond vote that Tom will talk about, as well as upcoming water capacity on that side of the utility. So that's your municipal budget for FY24 in South Burlington. With that, it's my honor to turn it over to Tom DePietro. He is our new this budget season Public Works Director for the City of South Burlington, although has been in South Burlington for a decade and a half and is really the expert in all things infrastructure in our community. And he will take it from here.
Great. Thank you, Jesse. Yes, so on the ballot, voters will be asked if they support a $33.8 million bond vote for upgrade of the Bartlett Bay wastewater treatment facility and some related infrastructure. There are three components to this. First is reconstruction of the facility itself. The second component is improvements to help handle the solids that are generated through the wastewater treatment process. And then finally, refurbishment and upgrade of 4 pump stations throughout the city. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those. So the major part of this is the treatment facility upgrade. We have 2 wastewater treatment facilities in South Burlington, Bartlett Bay and Airport Parkway. The Bartlett Bay facility was first constructed in 1970. It saw its last upgrade in 1999. These facilities are designed to have a design life of about 50 years with upgrades every 20 to 30 years. And the existing plant is certainly showing its age. There's some kind of wear and tear on the facility. Some of our systems are still original, like our Headworks screening filtering system. Those are original to the first plant in 1970 when it was first constructed. So it's sort of opportunity to put new technology in to improve treatment processes as well. This is a critical piece of core government for the city is wastewater treatment, and so this helps also protect our waterways and Lake Champlain. Part 2, or the second component, is the solids that are generated. So in the wastewater treatment process, solids kind of settle out of the water, and those are collected. In South Burlington, the solids collected at the Bartlett Bay plant get trucked to our other facility, where they go through an additional treatment process to create a Class A biosolid that can be beneficially reused in certain instances. We are at capacity there. Without getting too technical, we have to sort of weigh sort of our waste activated sludge that comes from the Bartlett Bay plant with the volatile solids, the more active, biologically active sludge at the Airport Parkway plant. We have some challenges right now at our facility. It was designed, the Airport Parkway facility was designed to manage this, but one of our clarifiers it was designed out for cash reasons, for cost reasons. So we'd like to add that in now. It's been over a decade and we feel the need, we're kind of feeling it to achieve that capacity. And then the last portion, or the third portion of this, is 4 pump stations that are within the sewer shed or that drain to the Bartlett Bay treatment facility. So these facilities typically have a design life of about 25 years. And these 4 that we're talking about have been in service for over 50 years. And so we've done upgrades along the way, but it's really time to take a hard look and replace the components in them. And it includes the pumps and the force mains, the pipes that lead out of them to the plant as well. Critically important, the 4 that we've identified as the greatest need here are located, all of them within 250 feet of Lake Champlain. So we certainly don't want to see any failures at these pump stations. Not a lot of room for error, so our staff checks on these daily. But still, it's time for upgrades and new pumps and things like that. So that's the last piece of the 3. Talking about sort of how the costs for that $33.8 million bond break down. On the upper right of this slide, you'll be able to see first the cost of the wastewater treatment facility. It's about $22 million. We estimate that the solids handling improvements are about 1.8, and then refurbishment, reconstruction of those pump stations is about 4.5. About $5 million worth of engineering over those three components, and various permitting and related costs for the project brings us to our total of about $33.8 million, which is the bond vote amount. What this does to our rates, to support this project, it means that our wastewater rates would go up 6.75% each year over the next 4 years, and that is about a $71 increase in the fourth year. So over 4 years, it'll be a total of $71 over kind of what our normal rate increases have been over the last decade. I'll also note that South Burlington has the lowest wastewater rates in the state of Vermont. We called around and got data in fiscal year 22. And you can see us on the bottom there all the way on the right. Project schedule-wise, so we have been working with our city council and city attorney to get bond documents together. Now we're out doing these public informational meetings. We've got more coming up, which I'm sure we'll talk about. The bond vote in March, and then moving forward, we'll get into the design phase of all these components, final design, and then we'll hope to bid this in summer 24 and start construction later in 2024. Finish up by 2026, and then the city would see its first bond payment in 2027.
Should we keep charging ahead?
Yeah, before we charge ahead, I'll just remind folks, anybody who's watching live, we do welcome your questions, and you can call us at 802-862-3966. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to Alana to talk about the TIF bond vote that's on the ballot.
Thank you. So the City of South Burlington has our last TIF vote for our last projects. So I wanted to show you where our TIF district is and give you some information about tax increment financing. This is a very strong economic development tool that the state has designated to be able to be used in South Burlington, and so this allows us to build projects that benefit our vision for a downtown. When I say our, I mean the community vision for a downtown that the residents and businesses have been working on for over 40 years or longer. And so the district is bounded on the west by Dorset Street, on the east by Heinsberg Road, the north by Williston Road, and includes to the south San Remo Drive. It's about 100 acres, and the way that this economic development tool works is that when that boundary was set in 2012, the land within that area, all the taxes on the land that existed at that time, the buildings that existed at that time, continues to go to where they normally would go. So when the municipal tax rate is applied against that land and the state education fund tax rate or the school rate is applied against that land, it continues to go to the city and to the state ed fund. But over time, as land develops in response to the investments that the city has made within that area using TIF district financing, that growth in land value, taxes applied against that growth, the city gets to keep 75% of it to fund projects that the voters have approved. So next slide. 75% goes into the TIF district fund, and then 25% of that growth still goes to the state ed fund and to the city to use the same way that we would use the existing revenues that are coming from the growth that was there, the existing land development that was there in 2012. So next slide. So there are 4 projects that are proposed to be funded using these revenues. These include the East-West Crossing, which is a walk-bike bridge over I-89. It starts at the Staples Plaza. It crosses over I-89 just south of the Cloverleaf interchange and then connects back to Williston Road by the CVS. It will also have a spur that connects to the University Mall. The city has a very large federal grant, about $9.8 million, that will go towards this project. And then the bond vote that is on the ballot, Article 4, has $4.3 million that will go towards this project. The Williston Road Streetscape, which is between Dorset Street and Al's French Fries, only on the south side of the road, also has a federal grant, about $800,000. Half of it is eligible to be funded with TIF district financing, and so that is on this ballot as well. Garden Street is the third project on the ballot. Is actually, even though it's called Garden Street, is the Williston Road intersection. So Midas, White Street, and Williston Road right by Al's French Fries over to Patchen Road, Heinsberg Road, and Williston Road by Gracie's. And so these two intersections are addressed as part of this project to add transportation, traffic, pedestrian and bicycle capacity to this segment. And really importantly, and I'll show you this, I'm sorry, really importantly, and I don't have it at the moment, but really significantly, it will realign the intersection at Al's French Fries so that Midas and White Street meet in a T intersection, and there will be crossings on all four sides of the intersection. And then the last project that would be funded with this bond vote would be City Center Park Phase 2. So City Center Park already exists, and that was a TIF district project. And then this phase will connect City Center Park to Market Street and Garden Street via a shared use path. And that shared use path will include a boardwalk over the wetlands.
So if I can just jump in for a quick minute, I think that what is really powerful about these four projects that Alana has been working to move forward is that it creates that connectivity throughout our city center and our downtown, and really focuses on the community's bike and pedestrian goals, our climate change goals, really creating that walkable downtown. And the investment in all four of these projects is what allows that kind of loop connectivity to happen around our city center.
Yeah, and so we will end up with a continuous bicycle pedestrian connection from the west side to the east side on Williston Road, which is a really big change for our downtown. And so together these projects are a total bond amount of $15,086,430. And each of these projects, this includes only the TIF district finance portion of these projects. So they also have federal funding coming into them and small amounts of city funding. And so, I think what's really important about these projects is that they rely on future development to finance these bonds, or this bond. So this shows a project that has been in the press a lot lately, Catamount Run. And that's shown in red, and then the purple buildings, some of them have been built and two of them have not been built. And so two of the purple buildings that are under construction but not yet occupied, combined with the red buildings, equal 475 units. And so that's a tremendous amount of growth that will be completed by 2026, so just, right around the corner, and that adds a tremendous amount of value to the TIF district. And so because the new growth is used to generate tax revenues, those revenues allow us to service the TIF district with these revenues and not to raise property tax values. Which is a really important point about TIF district financing.
And I think one of the things that might be interesting to your viewers, and it certainly is to our residents, about this pipeline development is that reflected here, especially in Catamount Run, and the purple buildings are a huge investment from our institutional partners. So both UVMMC and the University of Vermont have invested in helping our development partners grow our housing in our city center. And that vote of confidence in what we're doing in city center, what we're doing in our downtown is really what is enabling us to move forward with this vision for our city center.
Yeah, that's true. So the next slide, we can re-underline this. So a yes vote will not increase the property tax rate, and that's because this bond vote, Article 4, is a TIF district financing bond vote. So this shows you what the question looks like on the ballot, although I would caution, if you are a voter, don't expect it to necessarily look like this. We've had ballots come back with a question that was nicely spaced out, and it comes back as one paragraph. But all four projects are part of one question, and the total amount is $14,430,062. This is the last. This will complete the TIF district financing projects that the city has been authorized to undertake. So, thank you.
So we also want to highlight, this is a lot of information that realizes many community goals that South Burlington has been working on for decades. But we also know it's a lot for voters to take in. So while this is a great event and we're so thankful to Town Meeting TV for hosting us, and we will link it on our website and it will be available to everybody, we do want to call out that there is several other opportunities to hear from the three of us and hear from other city partners about what is on the ballot. So first, the next one will be our Love Your City event on Valentine's Day. Come with your sweetie before your dinner reservations from 6 to 7 p.m. in room 301 at City Hall, which is also in our downtown TIF district, and learn about these bond votes and what's on the ballot. February 28th, we will have another informational session, same time and same place. And then on March 6th, the night before town meeting, like most communities, we do an annual pre-town meeting day public presentation and public hearing with the school district, so folks can learn right before town meeting about all those details on the ballot. And then, of course, as with all Vermont towns, polls are open 7 to 7 on March 7th, and we really encourage our residents to get out and vote and have their voices heard. That's what we want to share today. We're happy to dive in deeper to any one of these things. We've been spending a lot of time on it. So.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation on the budget, the TIF votes, and the wastewater treatment facilities. I suppose since we have a little bit of extra time, if there's anything that the three of you would like to dive deeper into, since we do have about we have some extra time. So if there's anything you kind of skirted past, other than that, we can wrap it up.
Well, I would open it up to my colleagues here to share anything that they would like to share. I think, again, I'll start where I started, which is this is a huge ask of our community. There's a lot on the ballot. A lot of the leadership team has spent a huge amount of time developing it, but also our city council and our committees have spent a lot of time over decades envisioning what we want our community to be. And I think that the product on this ballot, that investment in core municipal services through public safety and public infrastructure, that investment in our wastewater treatment plant that really allows us to meet our goals of having a clean Lake Champlain, of not disturbing the environment more than we need to, considering that we are a growing community, is really critical to maintaining that growing community. And then, of course, our TIF district that has been a huge part of our conversation. South Burlington has wanted a downtown, a city center for years, for decades, and we are seeing it happen. We have construction very actively going on around our library and senior center and City Hall and in our downtown, and we would really love to see that connectivity, that bike ped infrastructure continue and really put the cap on that final project. So we're thankful for the voters and the council and our community for spending so much time with us on this effort, and we look forward to hearing what they say on town meeting day. What else did I miss, guys? What else do we want to highlight?
I have one thing I'd like to add that you made me think of it, Emily. So the numbers I presented for the wastewater bond vote, the $33.8 million, that's all the projects. That's our high-end estimate. If the city is fortunate enough to obtain grant fundings for that, which is something we're actively pursuing, that'll actually reduce the amount that we need to borrow as part of the bond. So I think I might have skipped past that in that slide. But yeah.
It's good to note. Alana, anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would just echo what Tom said, that any authorization to the council is really allowing the council to issue bond debt, but it doesn't tell the council that they have to do it, so they do not have to issue the full amount or any of it, of course. It does signal to them that the voters would, if the voters want to see the projects. So.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much, Jesse, Tom, and Alana, for coming out tonight and presenting on the budget and the ballot items. It really helps sort of demystify those big, kind of daunting often daunting ballot questions. Yeah, like Jesse mentioned, all of this is available to be seen and further researched on the South Burlington City website. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks to everyone for tuning in to tonight's Town Meeting TV, actually the first installment of our Town Meeting Day coverage for 2023. And like Jesse mentioned, polls are open from 7 to 7 on Town Meeting Day, which is Tuesday, March 7th. And if you'd like to request an absentee ballot, make sure you contact your city's clerk. Other than that, thanks for watching and sharing Town Meeting TV. Please subscribe to us if you haven't already at youtube.com/townmeetingtv. Thanks and have a great night.